Ladies and gentlemen, federal employees, today we're talking about estate planning. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, oh, that's depressing. Oh, I don't want to think about that. I'll worry about that later. But please hang with me. Please do. Because this is one of the biggest holes I find in retirement plans and all the federal, not in all, but the vast majority of feds I talk to, they don't have the right documents. If they have any documents at all, they don't have what they need to make sure that your family is taken care of if something happened to you. I know it's not the funnest thing to think about, but please do it. Think about it as a love letter to your loved one. That's what we're going to talk about today, okay? Estate planning. Let's talk about it. So let me go walk you through the key documents that the average federal employee might need and want, and the reasons why. And couple disclaimers. I am not an estate attorney. I am a financial planner. So every state is different. The slight rules and slight best practices are different, but generally speaking, across the board, these documents are as universal can be, okay? So let's talk about what documents you probably want to get in place, and I'll talk you also through some ways you can actually get these documents. What are some of the best ways to do it? Number one, a will. A will, simply put, tells everyone where you want things to go. Where you want things to go. Your assets, what do you have? Where do you want them to go? Now, keep in mind that there's actually one step you want to do before even a will that is going to be really, really critical, and that is beneficiaries. Okay, beneficiaries. Meaning any type of asset that has a beneficiary on file, like TSP, life insurance, anything like that, other retirement accounts, if it has a beneficiary, then that will take precedent over anything else. So even if you have, let's say, a trust or a will, your beneficiary wins every time. Okay, even if your beneficiary that you put down 30 years ago is now wrong, that will, that will take precedent every single time. So please update your beneficiaries first, and then watch the rest of this video about the rest of the documents you need. Okay, so a will is basically saying, look, any type of asset that doesn't have a beneficiary on it, where do you want that to go? And a will can dictate that. Next, power of attorney. Long story short, let's say you and your wife are driving down the road and you get in a car accident, you're in a coma. Can anyone make financial decisions for you on your behalf? The answer is no, not without a power of attorney. If you're in a coma, who can pay your mortgage? Who can do things on your behalf? The answer is nobody. Things grind to a halt unless you have a power of attorney that can actually make decisions for you. If you're married, it's very common to have a power of attorney for each other, because just because you're married, it doesn't mean you can automatically make financial decisions for each other, because you can't. You have to have a power of attorney to have that power. Okay? So it's very common to have, for power of attorney to be split up into two, financial and medical. Who can make medical decisions for you? Who can make financial decisions for you? Next, medical directives. What sort of medical directives do you want to have? What kind of care would you want? End of life care, that kind of stuff, right? Laying that out clearly for your loved ones can make a massive difference in just their confidence on, again, if you can't make decisions for yourself, being clear with what you want. Now, these first three are basically the core of the vast majority of estate plans. If you've got those, that's the basics. That's the basics. Now, a trust is also an option as well. I'll talk you through the most common times a trust can make sense. Okay? But these tend to be the basics. Again, will, power of attorney, medical directive. Let's talk about a trust. So there are a bajillion reasons why a trust may make sense. There's a lot of different types of trust. It's infinite, okay? However, let me talk you through the two most common times that I see my clients where it may make sense to get a trust, okay? Again, I'm not an estate attorney. Talk to an estate attorney, but these are just general principles. Again, after seeing this 2,000 times, we get a feel for how things work, okay? So these are the two reasons someone might get a trust. Let's talk about it. Reason number one is avoiding probate on your house. So long story short, probate is a fancy way of saying going through court. If someone retires and they have an asset, a large asset that goes through a will, okay, like your house, then it goes through probate. And most people think, oh, I've got a will. I'm not going to go through probate. The answer is yes, you will. A will does not avoid probate. If it's a large asset that doesn't have a beneficiary on it, it will go through probate as a general rule. Every state's a little bit different, but that's the general principle, okay? So if you want to avoid probate on your house, you could set up a trust, put the home in the trust, and the trust basically moves stuff around once you pass away, and probate doesn't have to. Probate doesn't have to. That's reason number one. Again, I could talk about that all day, but that's just the basics there, is avoid probate. Number two, what if you got young kids? Let me give you an example. Let's say you've got kids that they're either really young or maybe they're adults, but they're not very mature yet or whatever it is. Or, I mean, it's rare that any young kid could wisely manage a large sum of money that gets them immediately. If you pass away and leave, let's say, all your TSP or half your TSP to a young child, let's say an 18-year-old, 20-year-old, whatever, are they able to manage that without just hurting themselves, right? Without making their life worse. If you just have a will has no ability to delay when people receive stuff from you. It just says, look, when you pass, it all goes this way. A trust, you can build things in where things get paid out over time. You can say, hey, they get a third of it when they're 25, a third when they're 30, a third when they're 35, whatever. There's a million different ways you can structure it. But a trust gives you the ability to actually delay and have stipulations on how money is used. A will doesn't have that power. So again, these are the most common times that we find a trust is necessary. Avoid probate and have some control over how the money is used, whether for kids or whatever it be. If for any of those reasons you think, hey, a trust makes sense, then I would go ahead and talk to an estate attorney, okay? And let's actually talk about that. Where can you get documents? What's the best way to get these documents? Number one, you can go to an online company like a LegalZoom.com or a trustandwill.com. And generally speaking, if your situation is simple, these can be a cost-effective, good way to go, generally speaking, okay? If you have anything nuanced or complicated in your plan, I would probably recommend a local attorney. Or if you have something specialized, like if you have a disabled child, I would talk to an attorney that specializes in that. There's special needs trusts that are unique to people with special needs. So if you have any specialty needs, I would go talk to a specialist. But if not, a online company can be a great resource. And I don't get paid by any of those people. I just think that's the general direction I would push people based on their complexity of the situation. So I hope that's helpful, gives you a sense of what you should probably be looking for. But again, I'm not an estate attorney. I'm certainly not your estate attorney. I'm just a financial planner, and I'm probably not your financial planner either. So make sure you understand this stuff and get what you need so you and your family can rest in peace and not have to worry about just leaving a mess behind. Hope that's helpful. See you in the next video.